Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me for another video. I really appreciate you going out of your way to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps me and the channel out a lot. So thank you guys for doing that. Now let's talk about cruising fish, because this is the time of year where you're going to see the most fish on the bank. Cruising, maybe they've already spawned, maybe they're about to spawn, but it's a good way to catch a couple more bass. This typically isn't my favorite way to catch my limit or catch a bunch of fish, but it is good to be Johnny on the spot when you do see one, and it's very important to know a couple of things before you do try to target some of these fish. So a wacky rig, probably your best option. If you can put this in front of the fish and they don't see you, most of the time you are going to catch them. Now, I have seen where the color is very important. So I've been on lakes where you have really bright greenish bass, and it seems like if you can find a bright greenish colored Cinco, like the one that the Berkeley Max sent General in their green pumpkin, take a look at that. It's almost like a Play-Doh-y colored green. And on some lakes where the fish are really bright, they have a really bright greenish back, just seems like that color works better than your standard Gary Yamamoto green pumpkin. And then there's other lakes where fish are a little darker. Maybe you have some grass or just a lot of shade in your lake where those fish just tend to have darker backs. Very important to maybe try to match that with just your standard green pumpkin. But green pumpkin's kind of a staple anytime I'm fishing for cruising fish. Now, one other thing I do think needs to be noted in this is the cruising fish wacky rig thing is not the end-all be-all. I've seen it where I've been in really clear water, the backs of small little feeder creeks. I've been around some other boats and they were, light line, wacky rigging around, and I was catching all mine on a frog. So the wacky rig is not necessarily the only way to catch bass when you are seeing them cruise. Sometimes there are other better things going on. You can throw a frog, even sometimes a jig is one of those deals. We're now seeing with forward-facing sonar that bass love a jig, bass love just a jig head minnow, bass love a wacky rig. So it's not always just throw a wacky rig at them. Bass see that a lot. That's a pretty normal thing to skip at cruising fish. So a frog, that's been one of my better baits too. And that's not just cruising fish, rather. You're going to just be able to fish around those areas. Just because you're seeing cruising fish doesn't mean that there's not a lot of other fish set up around cover, doing other things than just cruising. So just might mean that you're around a lot of fish. I think it's very important to note that as well. But that is a big deal this time of year. But the most important thing, guys, is the fish does not see you. So this is stealth mode. This is when you need to really be quiet on your trolling motor and just keep your eyes peeled, because you never know when you might see that 7, 8, 9 pound bass. And if you're going too fast, you're going to spook it, or he's going to see you, he or she's going to see you before you see them. You won't even be able to present a cast. You're already going to mess that fish up and it's going to be gone. So it's very important to be looking, to be very cognizant of your noise you're making and your boat impact on the fish. So very important. And if you're fishing off the bank, crouch down. Don't let them see you. A bass, when their eyes come off the sides of their head. So when they turn, that's your time when you can move. But when they are, their eyes are facing you, you want to be still. You want to just stand there and try to pretend to be a tree or something. So very important. You can't let them see you. And if they don't, you usually can have a really good shot at catching them. And it's a great way to catch a big fish or just fill out your limit. So try that, guys, a wacky rig or a couple of those other baits I told you about. And good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.